Hey folks. Alright, this is the first video of my new attempt to discuss comedy. Now, I need to say up front that I'm not putting myself out there as an expert. I enjoy sharing ideas, thinking deeply, and getting feedback. I'm fairly new into comedy, but I've had years of experience off and on of performing and with music, and then of course I've taken in comedy. And comedy is a funny thing where actually the audience has almost as much input as the comedian, just different kinds of input. Whereas music, it's harder to have feedback from the audience about writing music or performing it, but of course they can share what they enjoy. So anyway, I feel like in comedy there's a lot of people with good input, whether they're a seasoned comic, new comic, or strictly audience. And I've shared ideas and had ideas that were wrong. And so just want to set the tone for these videos, and if anyone watches them and I keep making them, set a tone for the channel. So anyway, enough of that. What I wanted to talk about on this first video is what has been obsessing in my mind, is that of sets. And that may not even be the right terminology, but what I'm talking about is rather than just stringing joke after joke after joke, which is fun to listen to, but actually forming it into a cohesive set that works together and has an end payoff. And I've been thinking about this quite a bit because for a long time I wanted to see if I would be able to do that. And then recently I did. I created a 15-minute set where it follows the same theme, and then at the end it has it kind of ties it all together and completes it. And I was very thrilled because when I got to perform it, some seasoned comics from my area complimented me greatly on what I had done. They also appreciate that kind of thing. I don't remember when I first became alerted to it. I think it was Pablo Francisco, his Comedy Central special from 2000, where he did his finale was just blew me away. And my thoughts on it are, there's two aspects to it. Obviously, just stringing joke after joke can be really funny, and but what I remember thinking was my stomach was hurting and I was falling off the couch laughing so hard. Me and my brother and my friends, we were all just doubling over. So that was like, in my body was hurting, but in my mind I was also, that was so incredible. I was blown away. Not in the way that just a funny joke does, but in the way of how in the world did he make all of his jokes fit together and have this grand finale that was just so beautifully formed. And so as I've been thinking about this, ah crap, my dog's up there. As I've been thinking about this, it's like there's funny and masterful, what would you call it? Masterful architecture working together, and that creates something that's just impressive. There's better ways of saying it, but my way of saying it is that it's impressive rather than just coming up with jokes. That's not to discredit jokes, it's just my take on what makes a set different from a string of jokes or from crowd work. So I'm kind of obsessed with it now. I did a 5-minute set as well, and all I want to do is take jokes and make sets right now. I haven't been writing jokes. The way that I write is it just comes to my head and I write it down, and then try them out and then piece them together. So as a question, I'd love to get comments if anybody's even watching this, and feedback on your experience with sets, watching them or writing them or performing them, and how you think it plays in. Because another one is Chappelle. I think Chappelle is a master at making it all work together, particularly his trans joke from his recent special. That was beautifully done. It followed that theme, lots of jokes in it, and then it culminated greatly at the end. And with watching Chappelle, I think he's one of the best comics right now. However, I think he also preaches a lot, which getting into deep subjects isn't really my thing, not in comedy. It's not really something I desire to do. But that's another thing that I'd like to be able to do. So eventually, that's something I want to accomplish, kind of like creating the set I've accomplished. And then I'll probably obsess with it at that point once I do it. So kind of happy about creating this. And it's a clean set, so that at the beginning I introduce myself with self-deprecation jokes, which is helpful because I wear a hat, I got a mustache, I'm white, so I immediately will put off a lot of people in the audience these days. And so by getting up there and joking about that, I think it helps set the people at ease. And then I go into a bit about being single, so they get to know me, but that's also failing at dating is kind of the overall theme of the entire set. And then I've got this little bit where I compliment the audience and then I roast them. So now they've got to play along with me in being roasted, and that always works really well. Then I go into a bit about owning dogs. That it's 3 or 4 jokes depending on how many of them I do. And the last joke about owning dogs ties into the theme of failing at dating. So it's a joke about dogs and meeting women. So then it goes into an example of guys being goofy about women, and again, me failing at dating. And then it goes into another joke about kind of me and my lifestyle again with driving, and then failing at dating. I can't really give you the punchline. I don't want to give the punchline away, but the ending actually ties it all together with a twist, and that's what one of the local comics complimented me on a lot, and I really appreciated that he appreciated the twist that I do at the end. And so I'm pretty proud of it. That being said, it's not my funniest stuff. It's a clean set, and the beginning works more solidly than the last part. The last part's hit or miss. I've got good laughs from it, but I need to work on it. And so I got some good advice, and I listened to Ari Shaffir talking about his recent special for 7 hours. There's 2 videos, parts 1 and 2, and it's about 7 hours total. Highly recommend it. I listened to it twice. Granted, I was also driving cross country when I did, so that was easier. But I ate it up, and so I've learned from comics and from listening to him that what you do, you take to make a set, put all your jokes together that kind of have a similar theme, perform it, take the best jokes out of it, the ones that work the best, and so it might be condensed depending on how wordy you were and how many jokes you had. I started with a 15-minute set that parts of it were too wordy, but it went really well. But then I had a 10-minute opportunity, so I took that one and condensed it to 10 minutes and made it even more powerful with punch after punch. However, this last time that I performed it, just last night actually, it was like the first 5 or 6 minutes were really solid, but then the last bit fell more flat. So I'm still trying to figure out why. But anyway, the point of making a set is that, so then you go through and you rewrite it. So you write it all out, and then you add in, what could I say here where I had less laughs? What could I say and to make it funny so that I can, like the way that I look at it is my 6 minutes is pretty solid with consistent laughs. My last 4 minutes had a lot of dead space. So how can I go in there and turn that into more laughs? Even if it's not fall out of your chair laughs, just keeping more punchlines going. And then, or no, not punchlines, just keeping funny ways of saying it instead of just saying it straightforward, making it more funny. And then how can I make the punchline land better? And then with the next joke, same thing. How can I make it a funnier story with a better landing punchline? So that's a little bit about what I've been learning about writing sets. I get obsessed with stuff, and so I feel like that's the most important thing, but I don't want to annoy people with recommending it, so that's why I'm looking for feedback. What do you guys think about it? I do know that when I watch people, if they rely too much on that, then it's like, you're not being funny, you're relying on it too much. But if they're just being funny, I can get lost. I have a hard time enjoying a comedy special for an hour, but like Chappelle, because he's crafting something and taking me somewhere, I can watch to the very end and be in awe. And so, what do you guys think about that? Is it annoying when people do sets? I find that people seem to like it, and I think that there is that benefit that even if they're not laughing, if they see how you tied it together and had an ending that ties it together, they'll at least be impressed so that you still win the audience in a little bit. That's my theory. I'm too new to really know if that's true. But also as an audience person, that's a takeaway. But I can't really think of any examples where I was still impressed. Because there are a lot of comedians that just do jokes. I've got to this point where I actually have a hard time enjoying stand-up. Some of the recent specials of comedians that I really like, I didn't find myself laughing a whole lot. I wasn't really impressed. A lot of funny jokes, but it just seemed like, what I'm seeing at open mics pretty much, and local comics, because there's a ton of funny people out there. So I kind of feel like what can set you apart is not just being funny, but being masterful at it. So that's my thoughts. I could keep going. I should probably not. We're at 14 minutes. So hopefully somebody watches this, and hopefully you got some feedback and thoughts. Whether you like some points that I made, whether you disagree and have feedback, whether you want to roast me, any of the above. So, all right, thanks, folks. Here we go.